Let me call upon Nilu Thapa, Director of the summit, the 15th SAES. This is a time for all of us to put our hands together and, with a lot of gratitude to you, Nilu Thapa, Director of the 15th SAES and Treasurer, SAES Nepal. Likewise, Dr. Abid Qayyum Suleri, Executive Director, Sustainable Development Policy Institute, SDPI, Pakistan. Sir. Mr. Govinda Bahadur Karki, Secretary, Ministry of Industry, Commerce and Supplies, Government of Nepal. Ms. Mikio Tanaka, Director and Head of ESCAP, Sub-Regional Office for South and Southwest Asia Office, India. Okay. The teacups, possibly, if you remember the teacups in your hands, those of us who had tea, maybe the hands are warmed up. The hands coming together aren't really audible to me. Ali, Nepali mein tali bajai na alikiti. I'm in the host role. Thank you. Mr. Chandra Prasad Dakal, President, Federation of Nepalese Chambers of Commerce and Industry, FNCCI, Nepal. The chief guest, Mr. Mahaprasad Adhikari, Nepal Rashtra Bank, Nepal, the Central Bank of Nepal, sir. Dr. Ratnakar Adhikari, Chairman, SAES, Nepal. And Ms. Brinda Hada, Board Member, SAES and former Secretary, Government of Nepal. Ma'am. Okay. So for the first address, to share with us the key takeaways of the summit, let me call upon Ms. Nilu Thapa, Director of the 15th SAES South Asia Economic Summit and Treasurer, SAES Nepal. Ladies and gentlemen, ma'am.
Thank you, Abhilashji. Respected Chair, respected Chief Guest, distinguished guest on the dais, and in the audience here. I am honored to be putting together the key takeaways of the 15th South Asia Economic Summit before you. When I was asked to carry out this task, I knew the vastness that I was getting into, and I was also a little apprehensive, mainly because of two reasons. The first and foremost reason was that my colleague, Dr. Parash Khalil, while delivering his summary of the proceedings in the last summit, which was held in 2017 in Kathmandu, had actually raised the bar. The second is that we have been swimming in an ocean of knowledge and insights in the past 2.5 days, so I'm a bit concerned here whether it is possible to do justice to the knowledge created here. This may just be a drop from the ocean for you all. However, I have tried my best, and here I would also like to acknowledge the contributions made by my colleagues here at SAES. This is a collective effort on our part. A conference is ultimately as good as its participants. The 15th SAES is no different and does not disappoint. From the deliberations in the 16 sessions involving over 100 participants from across South Asia and beyond, including close to 50 from outside of Nepal, emerged a picture of South Asia deeply concerned about environment damage and the effects of climate change, concerned by green finance crunch imposed on the vulnerable, gripped by a foreboding of the industrial and trade policy measures emerging in the wake of climate action and propelled by geopolitical rivalries, and alarmed by the inequality worsened by climate change. While also confident of unleashing an equitable green transformation by building on some positive actions already taken by the government, private sector, and civil society. In the inaugural session, we had powerful delivery from the distinguished guests where they had set the tone for agenda of equitable green transformation for the rest of the summit. The inaugural session, graced by Honorable Minister for Industry, Commerce and Supplies, Government of Nepal, and Honorable Advisor to the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Interim Government of Bangladesh, and other distinguished speakers emphasized the need for a greater regional cooperation and how a regional clean electricity market is indispensable in bringing about an equitable green transformation in South Asia. The opening plenary highlighted the failure of South Asia to develop regional value chains in the first place, which is integral to transitioning into green value chains. To unlock South Asia's potential to integrate itself into global value chains, a multi-pronged approach with supportive policies, incentives, partnerships, research and development, education, and regional collaborations are needed. The second plenary discussed trade and industrial policies in an era of climate action. Supportive and effective national industrial policies alongside the South-South cooperation can be a key tool for developing countries in achieving their goal of growth and prosperity through green industrialization. The third plenary recognized green finance as an essential component to tackle climate change, and we need to ensure that transition to green finance is just and equitable, where Dalits will have a say, Adivasis will have a say, and youth and women will have a say. However, green finance availability is nowhere at the needed level. South Asian countries have issues in scaling green finance owing to constraints around availability, accessibility, ability, affordability, application and assessment of green finance. Sadly, green finance support from advanced countries and the donor community so far has been the story of broken promises. On the rise of sustainability-based trade measures, redefining industrial policies and creating tailored sustainability standards were underscored. They were underscored as critical for South Asian nations to balance development with environmental goals. We must foster a better understanding of the complexity of such measures, especially because there is huge uncertainty about their WTO consistency. Equally, vigilance against such measures turning into stringent non-tariff barriers is required. Another session that focused on clean energy pointed out that the region faces complexity in the energy transition, with a region heavily reliant on fossil fuels. Despite potential resources, transition to renewables faces political, financial, and infrastructural barriers. Trade in environmental goods and services is rising in South Asia, driving green technology adoption. However, multilateral and regional mechanisms have failed to scale up environmental technology in the region in line with the demand. More importantly, MSMEs face a plethora of challenges in integrating themselves into the cross-border environmental technology value chain. We also witnessed a discourse on how climate change is deepening inequality and the ways international cooperation for mitigation and adaptation could support vulnerable populations and enhance their resilience. Governments in South Asia have not been able to scale up climate action in tourism. There is a felt need to acknowledge the crucial role of indigenous people in advancing sustainable tourism, promote regenerative tourism by prioritizing the restoration of fragile mountain ecosystems and integrating their preservation into tourism development, and making climate change an important lens in tourism policy. On harnessing investment for an equitable green transformation, it's not enough to develop green tech solutions. We need to make them engaging, understandable, and impactful for both investors and consumers. Considering disaster-prone geophysical conditions of South Asia, a session highlighted the imperative of regional cooperation and establishing a regional data exchange system that could improve risk assessments and support more effective disaster response planning. MSMEs face challenges with informality, lack of preparedness, and limited access to resources. Simplifying formalization, enhancing resilience, and integrating strategic planning and disaster management can ensure their long-term stability and growth. Advancing a circular economy in South Asia requires systemic collaboration, innovative policies, and technological adoption while integrating existing informal systems to unlock its full potential. Climate change has a serious impact on availability, accessibility, affordability, and desirability of nutritious foods. It is important to ensure that agriculture is increasingly climate resilient, but the focus may have to go beyond the farm to the entire food value chain. Most technologies are safeguarded by intellectual property rights, which restrict access and hinder the growth and development opportunities of South Asian countries, making it difficult for them to benefit fully from advancements in climate mitigation, adaptation, and recovery technologies. When the world has made significant strides in trade connectivity and facilitation, even in the neighborhood, the session on trade facilitation pondered why the countries in South Asia are still left grappling with issues of the transloading of consignments at border points. Sluggish regional cooperation was a common theme that echoed across the sessions. The key role of SAES is to bring forth ideas for a deeper regional integration, and more importantly, as Professor Dr. Rehman Shoban, the senior-most amongst us, mentioned in his keynote speech, to keep the idea of South Asia regional integration alive. I think this edition of SAES has succeeded in doing that, and for that, I would like to thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Neelu Thapa, Director of the 15th SAES and Treasurer, Sati, Nepal. Moving on to the remarks by the organizer-designate of South Asia Economic Summit, the 15th, Dr. Abid Qayyum Suleri, Executive Director, Sustainable Development Policy Institute, STPI, Pakistan. Sir.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, respected chief guest and the panelists on head table. As they say that every good thing has to conclude, and so is this concluding plenary of the 15th edition of South Asia Economic Summit. And let me thank Sati team, as well as its chairman Emeritus, and executive director for very ably hosting this 15th edition of South Asia Economic Summit. While it would be a matter of honor for Sustainable Development Policy Institute to host the 16th South Asia Economic Summit yet again in Islamabad, I can't help remembering one of the founders of the South Asia Economic Summit, Dr. Saman Kalegama, whose visionary leadership and whose idea to organize this event to promote regional economic integration and regional economic cooperation that actually have moved a long way, and we should keep on remembering his great services and contributions toward this region. Now, when I look at the previous 15 titles of SAES, apart from the 2 years of COVID, SAES was held very regularly. In 2008, we started with the idea of economic integration in South Asia after SAFTA and the post-SAFTA. In 2009, the world was facing global financial crisis, and we discussed this impact of global financial meltdown and how to keep South Asia insulated from it. Then came agenda for decade 2010 to 2020, where we discussed climate change and food security. 2011 was the year of recovery, so we were talking of global recovery in South Asia. And then in 2012, 2013, 2014, 15, and 2017, we moved beyond this idea of economic growth, and we were talking of inclusive growth and inclusive sustainable development. So the idea of inclusivity that came in our discussion as part of the broader regional agenda. And we were dreaming high, and as part of our dreams in 2014, we were discussing South Asia Economic Union, the idea of having an economic union just like European Economic Union. In 2016 in Dhaka, we were talking of reimagining of South Asia in 2030. So we're thinking that what sort of South Asia one is perceiving in 2030, and how these physical borders and the constraints, those would not be a limiting factor to achieve our shared vision and shared idea of inclusive growth. And then we had some specific topics. We were discussing corridors of knowledge, fourth industrial revolution, greater economic cooperation. Last year in Dhaka, we discussed again reaffirming regional cooperation. And this year we are talking of green transformation. Now the reason I'm giving you the summary of these titles, because that somehow reflects the vision and somehow reflects the resolve of the organizing organizations and Professor Rahman Subhan and other elders who keep on guiding and advising us that what sort of South Asia is possible. While we discuss challenges, we also discuss opportunities. So to summarize, for 5 times during last 15 years, we have discussed the idea of economic integration and cooperation and broader South Asia. For 4 times, we discussed the idea of inclusive growth and inclusive sustainable development. For 4 times, we discussed the challenges that looked like huge challenges that can sort of keep everything topsy-turvy, and how South Asia can respond to them, as well as the opportunities. And I'm referring to this global financial crisis, the global recovery, the idea of corridors, knowledge corridor, and fourth industrial revolution. And then for 1 time we discussed this reform agenda of reaffirming our idea of this regional cooperation, and for this time we are talking of green transformation. So ladies and gentlemen, to conclude, all I wanted to emphasize upon that this gathering, annual gathering, is not just another talk shop. It's not another meeting where we just discuss policy or we just discuss academic discussion and then we conclude. It is basically the 5 organizations sitting here, the dignitaries sitting among the delegates, and the panelists that you heard during last 3 days. So these are some of them. They are who is who in their respective geographical boundaries. Many of them, they are who is who in the regional context. They are policy influencers, they are policy makers, they are policy shapers, they are policy critics, they are policy analysts. And this gathering basically is an attempt to remain relevant to the things that are changing, the changes that are taking place around us, a pragmatic approach to keep our basic vision of inclusivity alive, and basic resolve to remain part of solution and looking at opportunities. So no matter how odd things they go, the gatherings here and the type of gatherings that took place in last 14 editions, we have seen ups and downs in South Asia. We have seen extremely good times when we are talking of the whole economic union, to the last year's SAES, when we thought that, okay, enough is enough, now let's resit and reaffirm our idea of regional cooperation. And this year we are talking of green transformation and the new opportunities coming in. So ladies and gentlemen, in Islamabad we'll again try to put up a very similar show trying to discuss the idea and trying to discuss the challenge and opportunities that 2025 is bringing along. And graduating from 2024, we know that this was the year which were marked by global election year. Almost 70% of global population, the countries having 70% of population, they went for elections. In 82 countries, elections were held and we have new governments. And 2025 would be marked by not only their new administrations and their ideas, but also by climate change and some of the topics which are discussed here. And I look forward to welcome and host you in Islamabad to reflect upon how the things would have changed by 2025 and how we can respond to them. Thank you very much again, once again, for SOTI team for giving us idea to do our empirical and secondary research so that we can gather more prepared for the next edition of the SAES. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Abid Qayyum Suleri, Executive Director, Sustainable Development Policy Institute, SDPI, Pakistan. Moving on to the remarks from the distinguished guests, we have Mr. Govinda Bahadur Karki, Secretary, Ministry of Industry, Commerce and Supplies, Government of Nepal. Sir.
Mr. Chair, Dr. Ratnakar Adhikari, Chairman of SAUTI, respected Governor Mr. Mahaprasad Adhikari, Nepal Rashtra Bank, Central Bank of Nepal, Madam Bindra Hada, former Secretary of Government of Nepal, Ms. Mikiko Tanaka, Director and Head of ISCAP Sub-Regional Office for South and Southwest Asia Office, India, Mr. Chandra Prasad Dhakal, President of FNCCI, Dr. Abid Qayyum Suleri, Executive Director of SDPI, Pakistan, Nilu Ma'am, esteemed delegates, distinguished guests, and ladies and gentlemen, namaste, good evening. I am honored to extend our heartfelt appreciation to all of you present here as we bring the 15th South Asia Economic Summit to a close. As we conclude this productive discussion and reflections, I would like to commend and thank all of you for your significant participation, dedication, and valuable contributions. Climate change has disproportionately affected those countries and communities despite their least contribution to the emissions of greenhouse gases, especially for women, youth, marginalized population. However, dialogues over climate change have not given enough attention to compensatory climate justice. According to the Climate Policy Initiative 2023, less than 3% of the global total of adaptation finance went to or within least developed countries. The 10 countries most affected by climate change, including Nepal, only received less than 2% of total climate finance between 2000 and 2019. In this context, it is our duty to jointly work for solutions that will help all communities, particularly the most vulnerable, as we tackle the twin problems of economic inequality and climate change. The support from developed nations through climate finance commitment will be critical in helping countries like Nepal accelerate our efforts to address the impacts of climate change. There is a bigger need than ever for creative finance solutions in developing climate resilient infrastructures, renewable energy projects, and sustainable farming methods. To achieve this, we must strive to explore avenues such as green bonds, blended finance, and international climate funds. In order to leverage green transition's output, it requires global collaboration and concerted efforts. And regional cooperation will be indispensable in driving collective progress. South Asian countries must work together to share knowledge and expertise, build partnerships, and align policies to create a truly regional approach to green growth. Our problems, which range from resource shortages to climate vulnerability, are universal and can only be addressed through collective cooperation. For Nepal, the green transition is an opportunity to create a more sustainable and prosperous future. Nepal has immense potentiality for clean energy, especially hydropower, solar, and wind energy. We are committed to harnessing these resources to meet the growing energy needs of South Asia. In order to realize our common goal of sustainable, resilient, and inclusive future, we are committed to working with all concerned parties, including governments, private sectors, civil society, development partners, and other international organizations to exchange ideas, establish new partnerships, and determine course of action for resilient, inclusive, and green transitions in South Asia. In closing, I would like to appreciate the organizers, especially Southie and other sub-organizers, for their dedication in bringing together such a distinguished group of individuals and experts. Let us live here today with a renewed sense of commitment to drive forward the green transformation that South Asia needs. I look forward to continuing our collaboration on these crucial issues. Thank you very much. Namaste.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Govinder Bahadur Karki, Secretary, Ministry of Industry, Commerce and Supplies, Government of Nepal. Another remark from our distinguished guests. Let me call upon Ms. Mikiko Tanaka, Director and Head of ESCAP, Sub-Regional Office for South and Southwest Asia Office, India. Ma'am.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, namaste, namaskar. So I had a prepared speech, actually, before coming here. And then I realized that I'm speaking to the best brains and minds of South Asia and even the world. And what I would have said in that speech, you would have known already. So then I started thinking, what can I say? So I put that aside, and I wanted to share a reflection and question that came to me this week. Before this South Asia Economic Summit, SCAP had organized a regional workshop on air pollution in South Asia, together with the government of Nepal, was the Ministry of Forest and Environment and the National Planning Commission, and also with partners, ADB, UNEP, UNICEF, ICIMOD. And during that workshop, one gentleman said something very interesting, and it was a recommendation. We don't involve policy receivers enough in our discussions. We engage policymakers, policy advocates, but policy receivers are often absent. And that got me thinking. And I wanted to share something else that happened in this workshop. So we had two farmers at the workshop, one from Punjab state in India, and one from Punjab province in Pakistan, introduced to us by Mr. Abid Suleri, SDPI. They share the same airshed, water aquifer, and soil ecosystem of the Indus River system that runs from the Himalayas. They are among the few farmers who stopped burning crop residue, stubble, and straw by adopting ecologically sustainable agricultural methods. Both Punjabs have long been food baskets for their respective countries since the Green Revolution, and government policies in both countries continue to promote high-yield paddy rice and wheat production through subsidies for machines, water pumping for irrigation, or minimum support prices. In recent years, to tackle seriously worsening air pollution, government policies are applying carrot and stick approaches of providing loan subsidies for better superseeder machines, supporting biofuel investments using crop residues, while at the same time charging penalties for straw burning and using satellite data to track fires. These policies do not help smaller farmers who are already in debt and cannot afford large machines that are not adapted for small farms. The two Punjabi farmers have in their own ways developed low-tech machines suitable for smaller farms and adopted techniques to reuse straw for mulching that nourishes the soil and contains moisture, and diversify crops such as millets, using less chemicals and water. In one very dried up area where decades-long chemical use has also led to high cancer rates, farmers have stopped paddy rice farming and have gone back to their traditional practice of organic cotton growing. While still small in scale, the cotton value chain has created jobs for women and landless laborers throughout the year. Now, this seems like a brilliant solution for equitable green transformation that we are discussing at this summit. It reduces smoke, chemicals, and carbon emission into the air, conserves the soil, saves water, introduces more nutritious food to the table with millets and vegetables, employs labor, and reduces input costs for farming. But they need markets and financing for investments, even for lower-cost, low-tech machines. They have been advocating for government policies to support sustainable agriculture practices such as theirs, but their experience is that governments are not interested and do not support. They are not the only ones that have concern that continuing current government policies will lead to groundwater and aquifer depletion that will render agriculture economically and environmentally unviable. This has already started. Agricultural land has become barren. Young people have quit agriculture and migrated to other countries for better employment opportunities and even to do agriculture in greener pastures. Yet, why is policy not supporting or even accommodating this excellent solution proposition? Why? Can we help them and other farmers in this dilemma? My question is, how do we as development institutions and think tanks involve policy receivers and policy makers more effectively to come to policies and accompanying measures that will work for diverse stakeholder needs and for our environment? I leave this question for all of us to reflect and act. As we close, let us draw inspiration also from the Pact of the Future, adopted by the UN General Assembly this September. It emphasizes the urgency of global solidarity, innovation, and action. The principles of shared responsibility and inclusive development resonate strongly with our summit's goals, serving as a reminder that South Asia's progress can become a powerful example of collective transformation. Together, we must and can chart a path towards a greener, more inclusive, resilient, and sustainable South Asia. Thank you once again for your active participation, insightful contributions, and unwavering dedication to our shared goals. I have learned also a lot, and I'm really honored to be part of this and to be able to address you at this closing ceremony. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Mikiko Tanaka, Director and Head of ASCAP, Sub-Regional Office for South and Southwest Asia Office, India. Thank you for bringing us the farmers, ma'am. Now we have the representative of the FNCCI, the leader himself, Mr. Chandra Prasad Dakal, President, FNCCI, Nepal. Sir.
Honorable Governor, Nepal Rashtra Bank, Dr. Ratnakar Adhikari ji, Govinda Bahadur Karki, Dr. Abid Guliam Sulari, Miss Mikiko Tanaka, former Secretary Brinda Hada, you distinguished participants, business leaders from the different representatives from the different organizations, friends from media, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening and namaste. It is an honor to address this gathering at the 15th South Asia Economic Summit. The theme, Unleashing an Equitable Green Transformation in the South Asia, reflect both the urgency and the opportunity before us. At this moment, we should work hard to achieve the high economic growth with the social justice. There is a need to reform the regional economic integration mechanism that we have developed. Reform to regional trade and investment agreements should prioritize environmentally friendly practice and incentivize industry to adopt the green production method. South Asia is one of the fastest growing region and also the least connected in terms of the trade and investment flow. It has been almost a decade that no significant progress has been made in terms of economic integration in the region. But there is a sufficient pressure on the domestic industry due to reduce the traffic under the South Asian Free Trade Area, SAFTA. It has also made it difficult to protect and promote the local industry, particularly in the smaller economy like Nepal. Our industry must now compete with the more established sector in neighboring countries, often without the adequate policy support or technology capacity. To address this, South Asia needs to rethink its trade policy, ensuring the protect vulnerable sector while promoting the green and inclusive growth. SAFTA should be able to help the foster trade and investment within the South Asian region. Our region has the vast potential in renewable energy, such as hydropower in Nepal. A shared energy grid could be enable all South Asian countries to access the clear energy source and reduce the reliance on fossil fuels. Green transformation is not just an environmental necessity, but also an economic opportunity. By the working together, South Asian nations can position themselves to ensure that no one is left behind. The impact of the climate change, including glacial melt, flood, drought, and the other climate-related disaster, have placed the millions of lives and the business at risk in South Asia. While our region bears the brunt of climate impact, our resource for adaptation and the mitigation remain limited. There is an estimated need of 200 billion annually until 2030 to implement the climate plan. There is a huge gap in resource mobilization. This gap in resource demand and the need for the gather collaboration within the region and the support from the global community to achieve the equitable green transformation. South Asian country like Nepal and Bhutan have a negligible contribution, but are facing the significant impact of the climate change caused by the developing and the developed countries. They should get the unconditional and the grand support from the developing and developed country to mitigate and adapt to climate change risks. As we move forward, let us prioritize equity, fairness, and solidarity in all our initiative. Let us work together to ensure a better future for future generation. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Chandraprakash Dakal, President, FNCCI, Nepal. Now, as the closing ceremony crescendos towards the culmination of these 3 days, let me call upon the chief guest of this ceremony, Mr. Mahaprasad Adhikari, the Governor, Nepal Rashtra Bank, the Central Bank of Nepal. Sir.
Thank you, MC Shah. Chairman of the South Asia Watch on Trade, Economics and Environment, Swati, and also the chair of this closing session, Dr. Ratnakar Adhikari. Distinguished panelist and speaker on the dais, Secretary, Nepal Government, Ministry of Commerce, likewise President of the FNCCI, other distinguished panelists, distinguished guests, panelists of the other session, moderators, foreign delegates, participants, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon and namaste. I'll be very quick today. I don't have any major economic and financial data today with you. It is truly an honor to have an opportunity to address the closing session of this summit, which embraces the theme of unleashing an equitable green transformation in South Asia. First and foremost, I would like to express my sincere thanks to the Center for Policy Dialogue, CPD, Bangladesh, Research and Information System for Developing Countries, RIS, India, South Asia Watch on Trade, Economics and Environment, Swati, Nepal, Sustainable Development Policy Institute, SDPI, Pakistan, and Institute of Policy Studies of Sri Lanka, IPS, for organizing this summit on such a pertinent theme. The theme is very pertinent and very timing, as we all face and acknowledge that the pace of globalization has been significantly disrupted by the geo-economic fragmentation these days. This summit is very contextual and relevant given the green transformation landscape in South Asia. I believe discussion during the summit has helped us to gain new and valuable insight on green transformation and sustainable development in the region. Ladies and gentlemen, as we all are aware, South Asian region being one of the most vulnerable regions in the world to climate change, is facing numerous challenges stemming from rising temperature, melting Himalayas, glaciers, erratic rainfalls patterns, and frequent extreme weather events. The impacts of these shocks, coupled with natural disaster, has increased the risk of widening social inequalities and has also threatened food and water security. In this regard, the notion of green economy has become highly relevant for harnessing equitable and sustainable growth. Greening the economy in an inclusive manner entails the efforts which are directed towards fostering investment and consumption pattern that cultivates the innovation, reduce carbon emission, and enhance the energy and resource efficiency. This in turn calls for the need to harness regional strength and foster cooperation among the countries. For strengthening climate resilience and supporting sustainable growth, green financing plays a crucial role. Given the South Asia's susceptibility to climate change and its urgent need for economic transformation, mobilizing financing in greener projects seems to be very important. In addition, supporting the green transition of the MSMEs and harnessing the tremendous potential for sustainable trade and tourism into the region can further support the transformation journey. In the context, the government of Nepal has come forward with a number of initiatives to unleash the potential from green transformation and support sustainable growth. The National Adaptation Plan, Green, Resilient and Inclusive Development Strategy, other policies adopted in the national as well as local level as part of the Nepal's broader commitment to achieving net zero emission by 2045 and addressing the multifaceted challenges posed by the climate change. The government is allocating significant amount of resources each year for climate mitigation and adaptation initiatives and closely working with the development partner and other international agencies to garner financial support for implementing the climate-related plan and projects. Nepal's focus on green energy is at another key initiatives to support the transformation. To promote green financing, Nepal Rashtra Bank has developed Nepal Green Finance Taxonomy. This taxonomy, along with the SRM guidelines and provision to invest in green energy by the bank and financial institutions, are key components of our broader strategy to foster green finance. I believe that with these initiatives, we are in the right direction, but need to speed up to ensure that we reach our goal in time. With these words, I'd once again like to congratulate and thank the organizer for this collaborative and very much successfully organized summit. Congratulations and thank you once again. Dhanyavad.
Thank you, sir. The Governor, Nepal Rashtra Bank, Mr. Mahaprasad Adhikari. Now I call upon Ms. Brinda Hara, Board Member, Southie, and former Secretary, Government of Nepal. Ma'am.
Namaste. Good afternoon. Mr. Chair, Mr. Chief Guest, distinguished guests from the dais and distinguished guests from the floor, distinguished expertise, all the participants, ladies and gentlemen. After months of preparation, 2.5 days of deliberation and discussion, this summit is finally coming to an end. I have been entrusted with this task of giving vote of thanks on behalf of South Asia Watch on Trade, Economics and Environment. Now, to be giving vote of thanks for a program of this scale, keeping it within 5 minutes allocated to me would be really Herculean task. So please forget about that 5 minutes. But I will try to be in time, and I don't want to miss anybody. To extend our thanks. The scale of preparation required for a program like this really entails a long list of organizations and people to be thankful for. Nevertheless, I will try to be brief, trying not to miss anybody. First and foremost, I would like to express our deep appreciation to the chief guest and the special guest of the opening as well as the closing ceremony, who graced us with their presence and insightful thoughts. Your perspectives have been a source of inspiration and have set the tone of meaningful discussion. The expertise and thoughtful contribution of speakers, panelists, and moderators in each plenary and parallel sessions have enriched our understanding of green transformation of the South Asia. All 15 sessions and the opening as well as the closing have been a valuable step towards unleashing equitable green transformation in the region. Our sincere thanks go to the delegates, participants, and attendees who join us from all over South Asia. Your engagement, questions, and shared experience have made this summit vibrant and interactive. Some of you traveled long hours to attend this conference. The effort and interest that you have shown towards the South Asia Economic Summit is highly appreciated. Thank you very much for that. I would like to extend our heartfelt thanks to our co-organizers, Center for Policy Dialogue, CPD, Research and Information System of Developing Countries, RIS, Sustainable Development Policy Institute, SDPI, and Institute of Policy Studies of Sri Lanka, IPS. I would also like to take this opportunity to appreciate the support extended by our partner co-organization, Asian Development Bank, Center for WTO Studies, European Union, Oxfam, the Asia Foundation, the Commonwealth Secretariat, UN Economic and Social Commission for Asia and the Pacific, office in Bangkok, and their South and Southwest Asia office, and Kathmandu University School of Management. Without the support of our partners and our sponsors, this 15th South Asia Economic Summit would be being a distant dream. I would also like to apologize on behalf of the organizers if there have been any shortcoming in the arrangements made for you. We tried our best to make your stay comfortable. So please forgive us if there has been any discomfort. During your stay, be assured it was totally unintentional. I would like to thank the Advisory Board of Saudi for their necessary guidance whenever required. I would also like to thank the board members of Saudi who have been involved in this preparation throughout. Last but not least, the staff of Saudi who have worked hard day and night to make this happen. At the end, the entire staff of Hotel Hyatt Regency and our event management company, Vogue Aid and Event Management Company, also deserve an appreciation for making all the necessary logistic arrangement. Their support is highly appreciated. As we conclude, let us take forward the insight and connections we have made here. May this summit not just end here, but insight, collaboration, action, and solution that bring lasting impact. Thank you all once again for your time, effort, and presence. We look forward to seeing you at the future endeavors. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Bindra Hada, board member, Saudi, and former secretary, Government of Nepal. Now, opportunity for smiles. So we're planning 4 sessions. So photographers, quickly the dignitaries on stage. One click of all of you together, maybe. All of you, photo moment. After what? Exactly. Yeah. Oops, sorry. Yeah. No, there's one more agenda. There's one more agenda. The concluding remarks by the chairman, which is on the other page. My bad. Thank you, sir. Thank you for the reminder. So, Mr. Ratnakar Adhikari, Chairman, South Nepal. Sorry.
Thank you. I'll be very brief. Pradeep, don't worry. I'll be very brief. So it's really, I mean, I'll be very brief. You know, I promise that I'll finish in 3 minutes. So, I mean, all protocol observed, chief guest and everybody, and then respected dignitaries and participants. And, you know, being the first person to speak at the summit and being the last person to speak at the summit, you know, both puts me in a very unenviable position, actually. And I want to really thank all of you for remaining alert till this time on the third day of the South Asia Economic Summit. And we started the preparedness of this summit, preparation of this summit, exactly 49 weeks ago. The first meeting took place on the 4th of January 2024. So exactly 49 weeks. And as Neelu highlighted key takeaways, I do not want to repeat them. While several new issues came up during the deliberation, some other issues that were discussed in the previous summits remain still relevant today. These include 5 points, literally. The first one is the power of cooperation and collaboration. That includes multilateral collaboration as well as regional collaboration, and to some extent bilateral level collaboration as well. And this cuts across all the sectors and constituencies. Second, geopolitical analysis is as important as economic analysis, if not more. Third, policy-making process should be inclusive, quote unquote. So should be the project or program design and implementation as well as monitoring and evaluation. Technology and finance are key to solving major problems in the region, and this would be true in the case of unleashing an equitable green transformation as well. The role of private sector in harnessing the potential of regional cooperation is important, but it applies in the context of the last 3 days deliberation also. So finally, I actually wanted to recognize the contribution of each and every member of the staff, board member of SAES, as well as the chair emeritus. And I wanted all the colleagues, I wanted to take your name, but then I think, you know, I wanted to finish it in 3 minutes. So can you stand up, please, and a big round of applause to the staff of SAES, as well as the board members who contributed to make this possible. And we look forward to translating these ideas that we've generated over the last 3 days into action. Stay tuned. And we look forward to seeing you in Islamabad next year. Thank you.
So everybody for a photo, this side, everybody. Thank you, Dr. Ratnakar Adhikari, Chairman, South Nepal. Yeah. हजुर भइहाल्छ तपाईहरुको पहिला त्यसपछि अनि उहाँहरुको सबैजना पार्टिसिपेन्टहरुको पनि भन्नुभएको थियो Yeah, all of us together here. Also, the dinner opens at 6. The dinner outside. Yeah. Thank you.